Hellblade 2 is an unrealized masterpiece. I think after contemplating for a bit and replaying some sections, that's the best way I can describe how I feel about the game. There's a lot of cool things it does, things I would even say are hallmarks of what should be a smash hit. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that what is here falls short due to one key aspect. And no, it's not simply because short runtime, as you've probably heard by now. It's a lot simpler than that. It's just depth. The foundation is here for a 10 out of 10 experience, intense and visceral combat, interesting puzzles, a unique and visually compelling journey, but it feels like for every step in the pursuit of fidelity, sacrifices are made in terms of gameplay depth. And what better way to show that than by revealing what you'll be doing as you maneuver the story? And that's a whole lot of simply walking. No two ways about it. You just follow a narrow pathway until you hit the next set piece or puzzle. They try to shake it up a bit with the return of those storytime runes from the first game, but this time with the addition of small tree storytime runes. But this isn't much other than, well, storytime. At least that's what you're rewarded with. And these aren't things you can listen to while you continue your journey. If you walk too far away, it stops. So it's either stand in place and listen to your reward, or continue walking knowing you've collected another storytime collectible. Which is disappointing. It shows a lack of either will or just downright inability due to the emphasis on fidelity to innovate even slightly beyond what they did in the first game. I'd even say the game regresses a bit as a result. A lot of these quieter moments could have been opportune moments for the player to play the game, like stumbling upon hidden boss encounters or hidden puzzles. As a result, this becomes an experience that is on rails probably more than necessary, which brings me to my next point. It feels like you're simply walking forward even during the puzzles, believe it or not. You can solve almost all of them by simply doing this, like with the returning room puzzles, of course, returning, where you got to match the shapes through the environment. If you aren't finding the right spot for one, it's usually in one of the three directions the game opens up for you to solve this puzzle. You just need to then proceed until you see the symbols show up. I think they try to shake it up a bit by adding obstacles that you can cause to change positions or disappear and reappear, but like I mentioned before, there's no actual death here. You simply move forward, cause the obstacle to disappear, move through it, make it reappear, and then you continue the cycle until you find where you need to be. Once you've found the rune or objective in that direction, you do the same thing in the other two directions that got opened up to you. And it doesn't get any more interesting than that. Even by the end of the story, the puzzles were never something I had to really think all that much about at all. They were simply something I just walked through. It's probably the first time I've played a game where even the puzzles are on rails. And so the puzzles really start feeling more like padding, more than an actual experience for you to engage with. I really don't think I have much else to say about them because there's simply just not much to them at all. It wasn't until the game brought me into more tense situations that felt at its best. The moments where you felt like you were in actual danger and could actually fail at the game. These moments usually involved combat. Now, I'm going to hit you guys with a bit of a curveball here. Unlike what you've probably heard from others, I actually really like the combat in this game. Not much has changed from the first. You still have your light attack, heavy attack, block, dodge, and parry, but they refined these in a way that made it feel a lot more satisfying and impactful for me. As you attack enemies and with light attacks and heavy attacks, they either stagger with the blade or block with their own weapon, and every hit clash has a nice weight to it. That's the same with you on the other end, of course. The animations are very well done and seamlessly contextualized. So every time you parry an attack, the camera zooms in and slows to show an animation that changes depending on the weapon, the direction of the attack, and the type of enemy you're facing. It's pretty satisfying to pull off. Enemies can also bob and weave just like you, and their animation fits with the swing of the blade in a way that makes it feel like you're in a real fight. Combining all the production value together along with seamless animations and mechanics, and the emphasis on impactful gameplay, and the fights feel like a brutal slugfest. There's plenty more I could talk about, like how you and your enemy can break each other's guards, Senua being easier to take off balance and left more open since she's usually a smaller build than the enemy she's facing. Or how the animations in Blood serve as your HUD to display how close to death you are, and same goes for your enemy. It's built to put you as close to the action as possible and keep you engaged with what's happening on screen. It does come with some caveats though, just like the rest of the stuff here. First, that the fights don't really change in terms of what you can do during each fight. You don't gain new moves or skills, and every enemy you face is built to be taken down the same way as any other. Your strategy isn't going to change per enemy, it's just going to come down to how you dodge them. Well, timing on dodges at least. And the main thing is that it also appears that with how contextualized all the animations are, they had to make every fight a 1v1, unlike in the first game we're going to get ganged up on. Even all-out brawls, it's just a series of 1v1s. They have little animations that play out between each one to remind you that you're not the only one fighting. These are cool and do a good job of conveying how everyone is fighting for their life, but it feels like a downgrade from the first game when this is all you get in terms of gameplay. And so I'm left wanting more in this department. They have the pieces for some intense and brutal combat that gets better and better over time, but they seem to have had to make some sacrifices in favor of the current presentation and fidelity of the game, especially when it comes to the overall story. Now let's get one thing out of the way. The overall story presentation is fantastic from start to finish. If the writing isn't catching you, the visuals and how they go about them will likely keep you hooked. There's a lot of symbolism and just downright cool shots. It also helps that they make use of the one-shot style throughout the entire game. You're probably familiar with this camera style from recent God of War games. I believe they did this with the first Hellblade game as well from what I played. There are absolutely no cuts in Hellblade 2. You follow the perspective of cinema throughout the entire storyline. It even changes in location are done by having the camera simply move to this new location as the sky and landscape changes to signify the passage of time. This camera style also helps with the surrealism as you move between what goes on in cinema's mind and into the real world. There are often some very trippy moments, and the fact that there are no cuts keeps you immersed in it. The visual flares like chromatic aberration and other effects also immerse you into the mind of cinema just like in the first game. Sound design is also top-notch. Impacts during combat have a chunk, and the clashes of metal have weight. The voices that play all around you due to cinema's condition can be unsettling in the right ways. I could go on. But the issues start stemming from the overall story when I start talking about the writing. To summarize in one sentence, you're basically on a journey to destroy giants terrorizing people. I think this is where the game's overall short runtime can harm the most. There's simply not enough time for you to really get to care about or even learn much about the people who join you on the journey. I've already forgotten their names while writing this, and not even enough time to care about Cinema's mission itself. It doesn't feel as compelling as the first game's story overall. It doesn't help as well that the companions who join you don't do anything outside of cutscenes. There's no helping you when you do puzzles while you guys banter. During battles, only showing up during transitions, and they're never really contributing to the gameplay and therefore helping you, the player. The giants are also very disappointing encounters. They're visually impressive, of course, but they're actually just more moving forward as we've kind of been going through here. I kid you not, on that actually. I won't spoil them too much, but you basically run between pillars in sync with the rhythm of a flash of fire for the first one until you get to where the game wants you to be to progress. And guess what? It's the exact same thing for the second giant, only this time you're timing your pillar runs against water. A huge miss of potential here. Ugh. I'm beyond. I think the more I talk about this and think about the different aspects, the more sacrifices I notice. I feel like had this game another year in oven to just focus on gameplay aspects, we could have had a masterclass title in our hands. But because so much depth in the gameplay aspect had to be sacrificed to make the story, it isn't able to reach what could have been its full potential. Like encounters with actual bosses that could have this element of fantasy surrealism like in the first game, making it feel more rewarding to sit back and experience the game through its unique lenses. But as it stands, Hellblade 2 ends up feeling more like a tech demo that could have easily incorporated so much more in its gameplay. And that's why I wanted to make this video. I like this game overall, and I just want to see the team behind it delve more into the creativity, but more on the gameplay side. I think they have the potential to make something really special, especially with their unique take on immersion and atmosphere, if they ever make another installment of the Hellblade saga. So what did you think? Was there anything you disagree with? Did you also want to see more of the game? Why don't you let me know in the comments section? And if you enjoyed the video, it would mean a lot to me if you left a like and subscribed. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.